list. I hope you're staying warm on what's been a really cold week here in Michigan. When it's cold out, I like to sit by the fire and read a good book. And so I wanted to give you some good books to read. I never shared my top 5 books from 2023, and so I wanted to do that now, and perhaps that'll inspire your reading for the new year. So here's 5 books that I most enjoyed reading last year. The first one I wanted to share is a classic, Martyn Lloyd-Jones, Preaching and Preachers. Fantastic book by one of the preeminent preachers in the 20th century. Lloyd-Jones says that preaching is logic on fire. It's theology on fire, and a theology which does not take fire, I maintain, is a defective theology. And Lloyd-Jones talks about what makes good preaching and what makes a good preacher in terms of his character. And so I was greatly challenged by reading that book at the beginning of last year. Another book that I read this past year, really enjoyed, was The Peacemaker. This is a book on Ronald Reagan's foreign policy. And so takes a look at the Cold War and the various fronts that Reagan had to think through along with his team, and a lot of lessons on leadership and a lot of lessons on geopolitics. So really enjoyed that one as well. Counseling book that I read and greatly enjoyed was this book, Rescue Skills by Deepak Raju and Jonathan Holmes. We're reading through this book together now as a session, and its subtitle is Essential Skills for Restoring the Sexually Broken. And so this book is written especially for those who are walking alongside someone who's struggling with sexual sin in some way. But it's a book about a lot more than just sexual sin. It's a book about discipleship. And these trained counselors have some excellent questions to ask as you walk alongside someone who's struggling with sin and sexual sin in particular. But they talk about how to discern true repentance, how to discern false repentance, how to come up with a plan for growth, and a number of other just really wise things. And so really enjoyed reading Rescue Skills. Don't have a copy of it, but a history book that I really enjoyed was reading The Big Burn by Timothy Egan, and it covers the biggest forest fire in American history. Happened early in the 20th century, and just talking about the hundreds of thousands of acres that were burning in Northwest United States, and the men who fought these forest fires, not with helicopters, but with shovels and buckets and pumps and things like that. Fascinating read. Sort of bonus there, Timothy Egan, I also read his book Fever in the Heartland, which talked about the KKK in Indiana in the 1920s, and just a chilling read. Egan is well worth you reading. And then my last book recommendation, this is also a 2-for-1. I read some J. Gresham Machen this year. Machen, one of the founding members of the OPC. I read his book, What is Faith?, which was really good, looking at what we understand faith to be, assurance of faith, and things like that. And then also the recent re-release of his Christianity and Liberalism. It was the 100th anniversary of Christianity and Liberalism, and this was a book that had a profound impact on me. And Machen is a punchy, insightful writer, and he basically makes the case that the Christian religion is a supernatural religion, and any worldview or any sort of counterfeit Christianity that tries to deny the deity of Christ, the miracles of Christ, and things of that nature are essentially putting forth a counterfeit gospel. And he's just really insightful in his critique of modern theology. And so worth a read if you're in the OPC. You've got to read it to get your badge. Just kidding. But well worth reading this beautifully re-released edition. And so those were some of my favorite books from 2023. If you've got recommendations for me, I'd love for you to drop me a line. I'm always looking for things to add to my nighttime reading stack. So looking forward to hearing your recommendations as well.